Alright, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start talking, get this moving. But hi, welcome one, welcome all. This is just gonna be a overview guide on how to rando. We have the fresh faces of Rando charity tourney for Rando for Ukraine coming up at the beginning of April. We'll be having our qualifier on April 1st. We'll be having asyncs prior to that. If you're not sure what an async is, it essentially allows you to run the seed that we're going to provide for you up to a week ahead of time. Um, so that way, if God forbid, life excuses you for some reason, you can still run the qualifier. So we're trying to capture as many people for this as possible for a good cause. There are several of us who are pledging a certain dollar amount per participation for the qualifier. So I know Roman's doing $10 per qualifier or qualifying participant, up to 40 people. So if we get the full 40, that's $400 already for charity. I'm doing $2.50, up to 30. And then I know there's a handful of others who are doing something similar as well. So there's a lot of money in it for a good cause. Um, see if there's anything else I need to really say about this. There's going to be plenty of resources. I'll have a link down below in the description for the website we're going to provide. And then also, if there are any questions, feel free to reach out to Romaniac, who I will also put their Discord handle in the description as well. So you'll see that below. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'll put my Discord handle below as well. And then um, if you need help with getting set up with KH2FM Rando, I will also leave the link for the Rando website in the description, as well as the Rando Discord. So we will have plenty of resources to get you set up. There are plenty of lovely and amazing people in the community that will help you get set up if you need it. Um, and a lot of people are available around the clock, so I'm sure we will get you acquainted. I would love to see you for the tournament, because like I said, it is for a good cause. So if you can make it, we'd love to see the turnout. Um, this tournament is for anyone who has really, maybe has a baseline of KH2FM, but hasn't really participated in Rando. Maybe they want to get into Rando. Maybe they've not known where to start, or they've been playing for Rando for a while and haven't really participated in any tournaments. This tournament is for you. This really is to try and gather as many people as possible, bring them into the community, welcome you with open arms, and hopefully keep you around for a while. Nala, this is the worst time for you to get the ball stuck under the bed. Where is it? There's no way you want this toy, right? This one? Is that what you want? Or is there another one? That is the... Oh, God. It's... No. It's nothing else. That's all that's down there. That was the only toy down there. Anyways, as I was saying, where was I? Like I said, we really want to try to capture as many people into this as possible. Again, for a good cause. And moving on, for those of you who maybe aren't really familiar with KH2FM Rando, like many other randomizers, what we do is we take the base game, we apply a mod to it, whether it's emulator for PCSX2 or the PC port of the KH 1.5 2.5 collection. And we have the Garden of Assemblage, which is the area where we would fight the data organization after you beat the game. And we've turned that into the main hub of the game, and we take and we randomize pretty much every bit of the game, as far as where all the items are, where the important checks such as your magic, the drive forms, the torn pages, summons, reports, etc. And they could virtually be anywhere. Now they're limited to a certain scope of settings, which will be in the paste bin in the description, kind of outlining everything that you need to know about what can be where, and really what you have to do to try and finish the seed for the tournament. The main goal of Rando, 3-proof Rando, is I don't know if I can hover over it. Now you can't see my mouse, but in my tracker, which you'll see directly above me here, there are 3 looking coin things. Um, the 3 proofs. One has a key, one has the nobody symbol, one has the mushroom on it. Um, those are what you need to find to beat the game. And then also, as an added bonus, we took out the world that never was for checks because, again, we wanted to make this as beginner friendly as possible. So you don't have to worry about fighting Xigbar, Syx, Luxord, Roxas. Xemnas 1, considered probably some of the hardest bosses of the main game. Um, Again, trying to bring in as many people, make this as beginner friendly as possible. Instead, the way you beat the game now is you find the 3 proofs and that star looking thing somewhere up in there. God, I'm like that meme of the guy trying to capture the sun in his fingertips, and it's like, yeah, the sun's here, my fingers are here. But you find the 3 proofs and the promise charm, and then in the main hub center area of the GOA, the Garden of Assemblage, there's a computer where you take a walkway, and it takes you straight to the end of the game where you're entering the final fights. So we've made this as streamlined as possible. These checks can be anywhere. Again, to make it beginner friendly, we've turned off super bosses, so none of the absent silhouette fights, no Sephiroth, no Terra, no data fights. Um, Basically, you're looking at what you see in the main game of each world, um, and the end Disney bosses or organization boss that you would normally fight in said world. Um, the way that you kind of know where everything is, this is a points style, um, so you know exactly how many important checks are in each world. So again, looking at the tracker, you'll know that there are 10 important checks in Hollow Bastion, 3 in Olympus Colosseum, etc., etc. I guess that's another good thing to bring up. You will be required to have the tracker and then this timer as well. You'll notice that we have 2 timers. One is the RTA timer and one is a loadless timer. So that way, if we have people playing on emulator and the PC port, they will line up because of the loadless, just to make it fair. Ooh. So as far as what can be where, you'll notice that I have the reports, the fire, or the all the magic, the drives, forms, once more, and second chances in the pool as well. Torn pages, summons, proofs, and promise charm. Those can be in any of the worlds that are listed on the tracker. Oh man, I was about to bring up something really important, and I just lost. Oh, the reports. So the reports normally in the main game have no functionality except just some cool lore, some little tidbits of some backstory. In this, however, they can hint certain items. So let's say I find Report 3 in Hollow Bastion, it'll tell me there could be a fire in Port Royal, or a torn page in Agrabah. You don't know until you find the reports, or until you go looking for these said checks and worlds. There's no right or wrong way to really play Rando, but my job here today is to hopefully educate you on just some beginner friendly tips, some routing, just because there are faster routes than others, and faster ways to play the game. We do this out of fun. We do like to get competitive. That's why we have these tournaments. But at the end of the day, we want to do this for a good cause. We want to try to bring in as many people as possible. Help you guys get practice up, and hopefully see you in later tournaments down the line. Just because we really enjoy this community, we want to see it grow, develop, and bring in as many people as possible. I think that's about all I wanted to cover. Word vomiting pre the seed. All I'm going to do here today is I'm just going to kind of take it slow through one of the example seeds that we're going to provide for you, and kind of explain my thinking as I go through, and go together as we traverse this seed. So we really shouldn't run into anything too crazy. I'll kind of slow some things down as I get to it with my thinking. I'll try not to go too fast. Again, any questions at all, please message me, Roman, or anyone in the Rando community on Discord. Comment on the video that will be linked after the fact. Um, but otherwise, I'm not going to spew anymore. I'm going to go ahead and tab back into KH2FM, and I'm going to get this seed started. So another good thing about this, I didn't bring it up, is that you also start with movement, what we call movement. You will start with the base form of every movement growth ability. So you'll get a level 1 high jump, wisdom form, dodge roll, aerial dodge, and glide right off the bat. And then you can find the rest of them randomly. You may not. You just don't know. So, but we are playing on beginner mode again to make this as friendly as possible. But without further ado, we'll get this popping. So as soon as you start the game, or the seed, you'll go straight into picking your dream weapon. We have turned off dream weapon matters, so don't worry about that. And then you'll notice you'll pop right into the Garden of Assemblage. This is where people really like to just go ahead and get their menuing out of the way. So we start you with some pretty good abilities: scan, aerial recovery, finishing plus, and then sometimes you can get some random good abilities in there as well. Reaction boost is the Keyblade we start with. Normally it's a Defender 3-3, but we've also randomized the stats on Keyblades as well, and their abilities. So you could get some pretty cool stuff on there. It's a good idea sometimes to check up, Donald and Goofy's abilities. You definitely want to take their items away, just so they can't hear you. And then, one of the best things in the world you can see is that you start with Flare Force on Donald. So you always want to equip that if you see it. So it's good to kind of just peep their abilities. And then on beginner, on critical mode, we usually change Donald and Goofy to party attack. I will highly recommend changing Donald and Goofy to Sora attack. You do not want these fools to attack. Nala, it's okay. Pup. You do not want these fools to attack. I'll explain here in a second. But you definitely want to collect these chests, because one of them's got an important check. And then the Moogle shop is here. It's going to have all the dream weapon, or all of Donald and Goofy's weapons. So if you don't have Final or Flare Force automatically on Donald, you can check to see if any of these weapons are going to have it as well. And then if you end up finding a money pouch, it's good to come back here and get some ethers or anywhere as well. Normally in crit, most players probably start in Pride Lands. I would highly recommend a beginner going to one of the worlds where you can death abuse through the cutscene. You take a lot less damage in beginner mode, so trying to death abuse through these cutscenes can take a little bit longer than if you were to level up first and then come back. So those worlds are Agrabah, Beast Castle, Halloween Town, Twilight Town, Port Royal, but some of them have a higher damage output against you, so some of them are kind of just natural that it'll just happen anyway, like Port Royal. But I would definitely start with Beast Castle is probably the one you'll want to start with the most, just because the shadows do the least amount of damage. And Sora attack is a really good reason why we choose this world first. Otherwise, Donald and Goofy are going to get you a lot of levels early. Not that levels are bad, but the more levels you gain, the higher your defense is going to be, and the longer it's going to take for you to death abuse through some of these opening fights. But now we just get right into it. Choose the route you feel is comfortable, but coming through Beast Castle, you want to go through the courtyard first. And this is what we usually call Wow. Okay. We call shotgunning. Just kind of going through. Wow. Money pouch and a promise charm early. Shotgunning these worlds, essentially trying to get as much in as little time as possible. Trying to cover as many bases as possible. I'm gonna not do the wardrobe push, so I'm actually gonna go to this side first. Normally, to progress the story, you go to the East Wing first and go to Belle's room. So we may not even have to come back here. So I'm just gonna get these checks and I'm gonna run and continue my shotguns. So there's one of the reports. You'll notice that it did take down from the count of total checks left to be found in the world. Simulated Twilight Town. So that does take the number down. That's one less thing I have to find. Not that I've actually found it, I just know it's there. 100 Acre has Wisdom Form. That's not a bad check. So we're going to go ahead and leave Beast Castle. And we'll probably just continue on with Agrabah. Just because it's another one that we can capture quite a few checks pretty quickly. You want to try to focus on, you know, finding as many checks per minute as possible. Oh, come on. Do some damage. There we go. Now, when you're trying to figure out how you want to progress through these worlds at what pace, you know... Monster Mash, thanks for the follow. Good evening to you. Hope you're well. Welcome in. We kind of just have gotten started on this. I had a nice little 10-minute rant about just kind of a general intro to Rando, but thanks for joining us this evening. Where was I? Oh yeah, when you're considering how you want to go about going through these worlds, I forgot to take Alad's items. You want to get your shotguns out of the way early, and then you also want to consider how many checks are in each world. You know, where are you going to get the most checks earlier than more? So once I'm done with my shotguns, I'm probably going to go right into Hollow Bastion and Twilight Town, just because they have more checks. I will say this is a pretty evenly weighted seed. I would say this is a pretty normal amount of checks in each world that I'm seeing right now. I don't happen to have a magic. I have a thunder. So don't forget about this chest. You need a Fire Blizzy or Thunder or a Form to open that up, so don't forget about that one. That one's pretty easily missed. And as with as I said earlier, you want to be careful about how many levels you're getting early. At this point, it's not really a big deal because my defense is still low, but you can see how quickly you gain experience at a low level at some of these higher battle level worlds. Not that Agrabah's a giant high battle level world for Agrabah 1, but starting at level 1, it doesn't take long to gain levels. So once we do the Abu push, we only have one check to find left. Probably the time I usually leave until I get some good utility. Yeah, Pride Lands is a huge major EXP gain early on. The only difference is we don't usually start there on critical mode, or unless we're on critical mode. As we want to prioritize getting checks early as opposed to getting EXP early. You want to be able to death abuse these fights. So this would realistically be the last of the death abuse worlds I really prioritize before I really start diving into worlds where I'm going to gain lots of experience. So this is that death abuse fight coming up here. Might as well just check and see if I got any good Keyblades, and not really. While that one does have a better stats, I like RC boost a little bit more. So the only thing we're really looking for here is Valor Form. Since we do have checks on drives, Valor Form would be good to have for, you know, doing the Twilight Town station fight. You can get some good Valor Form levels and some Final Form levels while you're there, limit form levels even. This is a really good example of why we put Sora attack for all the allies, because they go absolutely ham. Wolf Scout, hey, how's it going, man? Hope you're well. So, if we find Valor Form, great. If not, we're going to come here and get some levels anyway. So, nothing really great popping off here. No really good abilities. So, before I forget, I'm actually going to go ahead and customize Jack back to Soar Attack. And this fight here can be a little... This fight can be a little scary, especially on critical mode. But Dance Call, Jack's Limit really makes really easy work of pulling in all the enemies. And it's a really good high damage output limit. Chillin' writing notes. Write notes for a class, I take it. I don't think the other one spawned. Oh, damn. I didn't get him spawned. I was going to cut it too close. Oh, man. And I didn't attach ethers. There's Valor Form. Rando class. There you go. Well, don't be afraid to ask questions. Well, at least I don't take a lot of damage, so we're just going to go ahead and do this the normal way. Normally for this fight, I would have ethers equipped, and I would use 2 ethers on myself to use another limit. But I'm just going to go ahead and use Duck Flare just because it's going to be quicker. So, don't do what I did. Attach it, make sure you have ethers on before that fight. And I'm actually going to go ahead and put them on since I did find a money pouch. Now, since there are no checks left, you're free to go ahead and leave this. Something I like to do in this world, and I think quite of others do as well, is I usually just go ahead and progress this part of the story. So that way it just kicks me right back out. And I can gain another, you know, maybe a level or 2 just for these guys right here, because they provide quite a bit of EXP early on. And then there's a secondary reason why I do it as well. If you ever want to force Final Form, you can do so you could do so at any point where, actually I'll kind of show. Yeah, it's a great place to force Final Form. You can force Final Form at any place where you have no one in your party, whereas if you're coming from somewhere where you would normally have members in your party. So if they're just walking about like this, if that form had been one room earlier, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes that's a good way, but you also want to keep in mind, if I would have only had 5 drive as opposed to 6, I'd have been able to use Valor twice as opposed to once. So then I would have had to go out of my way to restore my drive somewhere. But after you have 5 drive, you can force Final Form at any time. Or if you find Light and Darkness the ability, either on a Keyblade, you can go anywhere such as this. There's a couple of other places that do it as well. The Openings of the World That Never Was, the not Oasis, but the area between Cave of Wonders and Agrabah, outside the gate, you can do it there too. But it needs to be this setup where you can't use a drive, but when you go into another room you can. And to do it, let me make sure Donald's in the party. I'm not going to actually force Final because that's going to take, it might take 2 minutes, it might take 10. I don't know. But you need to make sure that your command menu switches from the calm color to whatever battle cover it is. Yeah, Timeless River is another good spot for it. But this is probably the most common one that people use to force Final Form. I would say don't get in the habit of going out of your way to force Final unless you really, really need it for a fight. But once your command menu switches over, you can use a drive, and then you'll just go back and forth. You might get anti-form. It might take a minute. You might get Final Form quick. Who knows? But if you have Light and Darkness, it might only take you 5-6 attempts. So I'll do this like 3 more times. I want to see if I can at least get anti-form once. But if you just go back and forth and do this, eventually, if drives are a high value, I'd consider it. I mainly only consider it more if I'm in like a go mode scenario where I have like no tools, and I really need something to help me get a higher damage output. Roman, thanks for the resub. But the stream goes well. We're just kind of really infantile stage of this right now. Just really got out of the death abuse shotguns. But yeah, I wouldn't rely on forcing final form unless you absolutely need it. And I wouldn't do it early on unless you have light and darkness. Otherwise, it could just be a time sink because who knows? The next world you go to, it may be the first check you find. You never know. Once I'm usually done with my shotguns, I kind of I'll go ahead and go through a couple of other shotguns I normally go through before I really get into anything. Disney Castle's another one to hit early on, just because it's a low battle level. You can do some other things while you're here, but you can get some checks pretty quickly. Open up Timeless River, and do some things from there. So there's another check for Pride, or report for Pride Lands. So if I get another report for Pride Lands, and it says like a fire or something, and I don't really need that reflect or fire, I may not even go to Pride Lands unless I want that experience. So we're already at one check left. We got a nice glide. Stitch, if you have a good baseline of KH2FM, but you know aren't really familiar with summons, Stitch will become your new best friend shortly. I promise you. He's one of the most busted, one of your best friends in the game. Stitch is GOAT. Chicken Little is a very close second. That's not a good spot. I would also not rely on Cure. As soon as you get Cure, uncustomize it. I think we've all made that grave mistake before. So just because I have one check left, sometimes I may consider just leaving, and coming back later once my battle level's a little bit higher. But I'm just gonna go ahead and push it. Speaking of push it, we're gonna push that mouse. Quick run that mouse if she cooperates. Oh, that's pretty good. Minnie usually doesn't cooperate like that. I'm kind of surprised. This could be a good room for early levels. If you really want to depend on it. I don't love it. Just because it can take a while, it can eat some time. There's better places to level, but it's good to get a good couple, maybe 2 or 3 levels along the way. It's a freebie. But yeah, Timeless River Push can be, it's an absolute freebie. It's really hard to take damage and die here. Timeless River can have some good checks. It's another decent spot to get, it's a really good spot to get form levels. Master, if you have Drive Converter, Auto and Valor and Wisdom are really great for the screen, or the windows. You that much more Mini. Come on. Alright, so we got a fire. We're done here. So I wouldn't say it was worth the push. It wasn't. It doesn't hurt me at all. So we'll just go ahead and bounce up out of here. So we'll finish up some of these other shotguns. We'll just keep moving on. So unless you're comfortable with it, I would say Port Royal is a good one to just grab these first 3 checks and then leave. I usually don't push past here unless I have like a magnet, maybe a decent magic stat. I'm okay with what I have right now, but I'm going to wait to go ahead and progress any further in there until I see a little bit more of what the rest of the seed has to offer. So at this point, I'm just going to continue shotgunning and see what I can gather up at this point. Yeah, Port Royal really, really relies on a good magic. Thunder and Blizzard, Magnet, and Reflect. Reflect especially, I think, is really important for Port Royal. Magic Lock on. Don't ever equip it. Don't ever equip it. I know when I was a beginner with KH2FM, or really just KH in general, I just had a tendency to want to equip any and every ability that I'd get or find, um, and come later in life and a lot more playing KH2FM to find out what abilities are really bad and what abilities are really good. Magic Lock on, very bad. Um, so at this point, you know, you move on, you can do Hades Escape. This is another area where I'm like, I really need a good magnet, something like that to, you know, want to progress any further there. Um, my last shotgun, I usually do this a little bit earlier, especially in crit. I feel almost naked waiting until now. LOD, this is kind of like my last area. I really shotgun before I start to get into the meat of the run. So flash step, not bad. So we'll just bounce up out of here. Before I forget about it, I'm gonna grab these ethers, and then while I'm right here, we're staring at 10 checks in Hollow Bastion. We're just gonna dive right in. Form boost is a pretty good keyblade. I'll let that slide. I probably should have equipped Valor Form, just because I might get a free level here. But I think my stats are going to be a little too high, and I might be overkill with before I really get a Valor level. So I'll wait until Twilight Town station fight to use that at the very least, or at least until I see what's going on here. But Hollow Bastion 1, I would say, is fairly free. Chicken Littles are a nice find. The Bailey fight can be a tad of a nuisance. Magnet and a good, you know, Blizzard is really good for the fight. Limit Form is really nice to have for it, especially since it's a solo Sora fight with Leon, so you can really rack up some limit levels there. Especially considering it's the end of a world. At the end of every visit of a world, you automatically gain your drive back, so it really helps to try to abuse that as much as possible. Do I have Thundara? I do have Thundara. Holy moly. Where's the last one? There we go. Get a torn page and a report. Sometimes at this point I would consider just going for 100 Acre Wood, since I have 2 torn pages. But considering it's only a Wisdom Form and 1 other check, I'll probably just wait. I might wait until at least I get access to Rue's house. Maybe even Spooky Cave, the 4th page, just because then at that point I can just go mode all the checks as quickly as possible. But Hollow Bastion 2, the first half of it, I would say is fairly free. You can rack up some more good checks quickly too. Something else that Roman decided on was to turn off the Cavern of Remembrance. I really like that. I really like that pick, just because it can be kind of a nuisance, especially for beginners, especially if that last chest is locked behind the last chest of core, which then at that point you have to do the fights. And I will honestly say some of the hardest mob fights in the game. Even to this day of playing KH2FM for over 10 years, it still sucks. So I'm really glad we decided on not going with core. Oops. RC boost isn't bad. Oh man. So a couple checks back here. We do let you start with the membership card and the identity disc. So that way you could just go straight for the Tifa check. Ribbons aren't bad. Ribbons are actually really, really good in beginner mode. Just as they provide a little bit of extra defense than they say they do. So once you get out of the era of where you're going to be death abusing, definitely put them on. They go a long, long way. Even though I don't have a whole ton of utility, I'm just going to go ahead and clear this out. I can go ahead and get some Valor levels while I'm here. Maybe. I might just save it. My magic's ridiculous. Yeah, if anything, I want you out of the way. Hey, would you look at that, Genie? Genie's got some niche uses for some certain mob fights, but you probably won't see him used very often on beginner mode. There's a lot better terms of or means of damage output. I honestly should have went for chicken, just for the magnet effect. And levels are done with a Blizzy. We'll take that. So this is where the run kind of breaks off. Since I don't really have a whole lot of utility for Demyx, I'm going to go ahead and wait. But I'll see what I can get out of these two chests, and then I'll come back. So that's for Ra. All right. So the last few worlds we really haven't been to are Twilight Town and Pride Lands. We'll step through here, see what it's got, and then at this point the run kind of, once you really visit into the worlds and kind of get your foot in the door a little bit with each world, you can kind of start to see where the run is going to start opening up. So you can break from shotguns at any time in Rando, just so long as you feel comfortable with the tools that you have, and just start hunting for the proofs. Some people are more comfortable with less than others. Oh my god. I rolled a doozy for Glide 4. But go with what you're comfortable with. Practice. Practice, practice, practice. And don't be afraid to take on some fights with a little bit less tools. Roman, we'll go to jail heal shortly. I wanted to kind of save jail for its own spotlight. So, thankfully, STT or Simulated Twilight Town is no longer jail. Back in the day, we used to not be able to leave STT until you did the whole thing. From start to finish to Axle 2. Now we have it to where you can leave at any point through any save point, and return back to the GOA. So again, a little bit more friendly than what it used to be. So normally this can be death abused, but it would just take entirely too long with my defense and my HP. So we're just going to go ahead and do this. If you are lucky enough to find Trinity Limit, you can end this fight so quickly. So, as well as the Beast Castle opening, and any of the other death abuse fights. So keep that in mind if you're lucky enough to find it. And Trinity Limit is also great for STT, which, if we find it, I'd love to demonstrate it. Same with Limit Form. Limit Form is great for STT. Should be any second now. There we go. Cool. Proof of Peace. Alright, so Promise Charm and 1 proof. We are 2 proofs away from being able to tackle final fights. Alright, so Land of Dragons has a magnet. I'm not really hurting for that magnet. It's nice to know that it's there, but I'm not ready to make a beeline for it right this second. At this point, another Form would be good. Reflect would be great. So I'm definitely looking at 100 Acre Wood and Pride Lands probably as my next moves. That's not a bad Keyblade either. Twilight Town's another one that we considered kind of half jail. You wouldn't be able to leave it until you finish the first visit either. So I will say Rando's come quite the ways. And God, even before the GOA, when we just had like regular KH2FM Rando, that was a time. That was a time to be alive. So Blizzy with 2 checks left. I'm gonna chance it, and I'm probably gonna bounce, just because there's some good stuff elsewhere. I'm gonna go ahead and do Pride Lands, just because it's a lot of checks very quickly. That Reflect is going to come in very handy. Normally you'd see people start out with this world and crit, and go for the reaction command. Considering we're level 24, our magic's 35, a couple thunders, and those living bones are toast. That can be a fairly intimidating fight. But on beginner mode with some nice utility, it really doesn't come out to much. Can I get a nodders in chat for this banger? Man, so there's the Reflect. Only looking for one more check here in Pride Lands, and then we'll be running up out of here. Oops. Did not mean to press that. Now I'm chancing it a little bit here for only 1 check left being in Pride Lands, but it's a quick world to run through. Might as well just check it out, see what we got. By doing Pride Lands all the way. That's a ballsy move, especially if you started Pride Lands early and went all the way to Scar early on. That is a move and a half. To beat Earth, Earth is a bit of a unit. Quite the unit. Just a Simba check. Oh, okay. Yeah, Earth and I were gonna have the semi-final race, and then he had to back out for some personal stuff. So I ended up jumping straight to grand finals with Swift. 1 check left. Probably not going to stick around for that too much longer, but I'm just going to get out of there. I'm gonna do a little customization real quick, and I'm just gonna run right into 100 Acre Wood. That wisdom form would be kind of nice, and also to see what else could be here. There's the wisdom form. Okay, one thing left. Oop. So at this point, I think that makes just shy of the halfway mark on the total important checks that have either been hinted and or found. So now we come into a little bit higher chances of being able to find some proofs. 2 left out of, I think it's 26 checks left to be found. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. No, we are at the halfway mark. So the more ground you cover quickly, the better you're going to do. Also, another reason, up to 23. Officially past the 1/3 mark. 23. Oh, I was looking at the bottom of my tracker. Alright, 1 in 64 at least. Oh, you're talking about for participants. Okay, I see you. I've got a couple things I could do here. Now, the World That Never Was is turned off, but I want to do something very fast. This is a pretty good spot to level up Wisdom Form. I was a coach, yes, and I lost a Roman. Warehouse Jesus and I lost a Roman by maybe a minute and a half. 3 minutes? Like I'm counting, okay, dude? We were after the event. Might as well go ahead and level up Valor Form up to 4 while I'm here. Alright. Let's go. Now we feed the beginners to the other beginners. There you go. So, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to Hall of Bastion. I'm gonna do Demyx, and I'm gonna regret not having Magnet for Final Fantasy fights, but you know what? We're gonna freaking chance it, brother. Dance, water, dance. Let's go. Make sure I don't hit the wrong form. I'd have been madly upset if I'd hit Valor form. Yeah, me and Jesus were doing quite literally the Lord's work. Nice. Wow, a magnet for my troubles. And a mag burst. I did not think I was going to get that DM skip for Demyx. So, I will take that. Combo Master's good. Draw some... Wow. I might put that just for the stats. I normally don't do that. Let me make sure This is customized. I probably won't use it as much since it's level 1. I don't have any other levels for forms, so in we go. I'm like, where? Magnet finishing, or finishing step, whatever this... Finishing leap. God, why do I always say finishing step? Finishing leap is a very good combo if you have the finishing plus ability on. Excuse me? These damn shadows. Final Fantasy fights can be pretty harmless. Some decent stats, decent utility. You can enter Wisdom fight before this too. Well, I used to have Donald in the party if you want to get some Wisdom levels here, or if you just like to use Wisdom form. Other people like to level up Limit form here. Whatever you like. Everybody's different. There we go. Did I not proc that ether? Nice, I did. Ow. Cloud will do some wonders for you if you let him. Limit form, great. HP increase and an AP boost. 2 checks left. I'm gonna go for it. I don't suppose this is gonna do quite nearly enough. It might. Oh, absolutely not. It might be just faster to do the RCs. I think it is. Oh yeah, definitely. There we go, that's what I want. Yeah, it's gonna be faster for this. Come on, give me RC. If you have 2 magnets, you can really go through this. Yeah. The floor is still pretty high with Magnera. That's kind of why I wished I put on the combo Master Keyblade. Just so I could run rampant through it. But this isn't bad. It'll just take me a minute. These guys can be, what are they, surveillance bots or whatever the game calls these heartless. They can be pretty janky with picking them up sometimes. Sometimes you'll hit the RC and then they'll just fucking dodge. Nothing you can do about it. Yeah, limit's good. I usually like to save it till like the last 200 heartless, just because it doesn't always yield a ton of kills. I at least like to get to the latter half of the heartless. Gimme, thank you. But yeah, if I had Magnera, I'd totally just abuse it. So I'll probably just go ahead and use Limit Form here. Let me use, thank you. Bruh. Alright. Not bad. Oh, perfect. Alright. Spoils. Alright, so at least we know what's on drives. And when you look at that, we got a nice payoff for our push. So at this point, we're kind of split in between a couple different worlds. While OC and Port Royal, I would say, are great, great pushes. The highest chance that we're going to have right now is going to be ye old jail. I'm sure Roman is very excited. But STT, it's just Roxas world. That's what you see at the beginning of Vanilla.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Not really a pain to go through, but it's nice to have limit form, Trinity limit, or just some good magic. Exhibit A. Yes. Considering everything else is off, it would just be Gullwing check and the Proof of Peace check. I can't believe we get to listen to Force de Mal the entirety of STT. But for STT, we've had a setting on for a while where you can use Limit Form, Trinity Limit, and all of Sora's magic with Roxas. So it makes STT a little bit more tolerable. All in all now, it's under a 10-minute endeavor anymore. It used to be much worse. Especially now, it's a lot better considering you can leave it anytime you like. So if, you know, some stroke of luck, all 4 checks are before Sunset Station, we could leave before, beforehand. Used to not be able to leave even if you found all your checks. You'd have to wait until Axel 2 was done. So I know back in the day, I would just turn STT off. Roman, I know you're in my early races. I want to say majority of the time we turned STT off because we just didn't know when to deal with it. Like way back in the day.
Let's go.
There's the torn page. I would love a throwback tourney. Something like that where STT is off. No Roxas extra stuff. No map skip. just a BS tourney like that. No one would play it. No one would participate. But it'd be hilarious to watch the people that do just suffer. Also, you don't T-pose using Limit Form in Twilight Thorn Fight anymore. Used to, you would have to revert prior to the RCs so that you wouldn't soft lock. Man, how far we've come. Alright, struggle fights. Would highly recommend having draw on, if you have it, which I do. Awesome. Limit form and Trinity limit sweep these fights. Under 5 seconds sweep. And STT is very kind on your drive when you have limit form, and every time you revert, it just automatically restores it. So this is a great place to level up limit form if you have it. So definitely always keep that in mind, especially if drives are a higher check count than normal. Oh, that was almost good. They almost lined up all right by each other. Take that.
That's more like it. This is it. Not bad, Roxas.
My life is a chip in your pie.
Let's go. Back off. Let's go.
This is a friendly team. I'm not supposed to lose.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I wanted to look at Keyblades. Always nice to see if you happen upon Light and Darkness. Well, I wouldn't call it a common mistake. My common mistakes early on were not realizing you didn't have to wait until the world was over to get these chests at a central station. Just go back from the Sunset Terrace. I think I lost a couple races to Roro back in the day because I didn't know that. Second chance, pretty good find. Oh, definitely. Master Form, also not a bad find. Not really what we're looking for to make the plunge to STT worth it, but, you know, we'll take that with a grain of salt. I think there was Run Roro when I came back to Rando after my hiatus, and we raced, and I couldn't find the last check. I couldn't find the proof in STT, and I knew it was an STT. And you're like, "Did you check? Did you check the central station?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And you're like, "3 chests in central station." I'm like, "I got blocked out. Since when?" And you're like, "Dog, you could go back as early as Sunset Terrace." And I felt like I played myself a fool so badly. I was so mad at myself. Come closer. Damn. I was gonna try to just double them. Oh well. Alright. Coming down the downhill slope, STT. Could get lucky, might not. We may have taken the plunge for nothing, but hey, that's unfortunately how Rando goes sometimes. You make some good decisions, you make some decisions where you're like, man, I really wish I didn't waste my time. Oh wow, okay. Agrabah has the once more. I'm probably going to opt for Port Royal, just in terms of checks per minute. And also because I am really not a fan of Hades Escape. Or just OC in general. Oops. I don't know why I was meant to go backwards there.
Where are you gather?
I thought they were all three right there, just gonna pile up like three little beautiful heartless should. Well, let's see if this trolls me like back in the day. Roman, it did it! And I called it. PR trolls. PR trolls. I literally called it as it happened. Disgust myself. Yeah, absolute throwback. Absolute throwback. One of those cases where a town push would have been very nice. So now when you're in this scenario, you have three proofs. You have the Promise Charm. You can hit this computer and it leads you to the World of Nothing, which will take you to final fights. So it's a good time now to kind of just check over your menuing, make sure everything looks good, all your abilities that are on that you want, accessories that are on that you want. Ooh, another form boost Keyblade, it's not bad. Make sure everything's customized the way you like it, and then once you're ready, now if you're a little bit lower level than you'd like, you want to get some extra stats, they've spawned the capsule prize Heartless here, and they just give out buku XP. So if you want to go through here a couple times, they keep spawning, and you could just go get some levels. I'm not gonna go for it just because it's gonna eat some time, but it's there if you want it. But as I said, it warps you straight into final fights in the world that never was. Riku joins the party. And then at that point, you're good to go. So we'll just run with it. I'll probably slow down a little bit more as we enter like Armored Xemnas 1, Armored Xemnas 2, and Final Xemnas. As I would say, that's probably going to be the biggest hurdle for a lot of newcomers coming into this. And I just kind of want to explain the, just like the general how-tos of the fights. Nothing really too crazy. But I definitely want to... wouldn't say I want to promote Dome Skip. I'm going to do Chicken Little just on account of only having Magnet. So Chicken Little's really good for the core, or the pre-core. The cylinders, whatever you want to call these, as long as he's doing his job, because he just pushes them away. But they spawn in groups of 5. You need 3 groups of 5, and then just a single one. So you only need 16 Heartless to go into the cylinder. So if Chicken Little does what he's supposed to, this goes over pretty quickly. I still make the mistake sometimes of hitting Stunt Dodge 2 prematurely before the numbers come up. Oops. I see you. Oops. So Armored Xemnas 1, really not a problem. If you have final form, you can blitz this fight in 5 seconds, no lie. Even with Wisdom form, this shouldn't really take long. Just a couple fires from Wisdom form or final. Use Reflect on not the Dragoon Lancers, for, Zaldan's weapons when they come by, and you can shred Buddy's HP bar very quick. So Wisdom form, not nearly as fast as what you can do with Final form, but still ultimately a great tool to get through that real quick. If you want extra iframes, if you're worried about Armored Xemnas 1 or 2, Session, Riku's Limit will lead the way. Or if you have Flare Force for Armored Xemnas 1, Flare Force is a monster as well. So if you have trouble with these fights, don't be afraid to depend on the limits. They are great use for iframes, and you can get some good attacks underneath them as well if you need it. So we skip the what is it? The not the escape. What? Oh, fuck. What is it? The dragon fight where you're on the sailor with Riku and Sora. We skip that entirely. Run straight to Armored Xemnas 2. Honestly, should have been the main game went. So once you hit the HP gate, it just automatically sends you to Oblivion. So these buildings that spawn, they spawn in the same place every single time. Once you do the reaction command here, make sure you're aerial dodging, especially after the second phase, because he will always do the lasers attack in midair, which can really ruin your day if you're not paying attention. So aerial dodging will just skip it altogether. So that should take him to the next HP gate and send us away. And then he's gonna, so you can either aerial dodge when he lasers here, or you can just fall. Your choice. But again, these buildings spawn in the same place every time. I like the one on the left. And then don't forget the aerial dodge. Skip the lasers. And then be careful as you're coming down. I like to bait one of his attacks. So the wall's a good one. And then I'll kind of just be patient for one of his attacks. And then I like to go into final fight, if possible, final Xemnas, with as close to a full MP bar as possible. And if I don't, I'll probably just go ahead and take the death. Instead of trying to work up a final Xemnas fight with limited to no MP, and it's just going to take longer. I'm going to get annoyed, and I'm not going to get a good cycle. Final Xemnas can be one of the harder fights in the game. Yes, I'll go over Dome Skip as we get closer to it. But the opening phase of the fight is where he's doing reversal. He's throwing the vines at you. There's a good combination. You want to do a combination of reflect, reversal, reflect, reversal, and kind of just be patient. I would say this is one of those fights where you really want to spend, a good little bit, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, really understanding the first phase of the fight, really understanding how the reversal works, how his frames for hitting you out of the reflect and not hitting you out of the reflect work. It's kind of hard to explain until you really just kind of dive into it. But I'm going to turn my volume down just to make sure I can kind of hear myself a little bit because my music's a little loud. But you can skip the initial animation where he says we shall go together if you just open up the fight with a reflect. So I'm going to reflect and reversal twice. a reflect, reversal twice, reflect, reversal once, reflect, reversal once, reflect, reversal twice, reversal twice, reflect, reversal, 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 and then if you can get a reflect there, great. If not, not the end of the world. But I would say that's the safest amount of HP to get him out of, so that way he doesn't go directly into lasers when you're landing. Because if he goes directly into lasers, you might have a little bit of a problem trying to get him into that nice HP spot where you can do the dome skip. So I'm going to go for Reflect Limit Form. I'm going to do Arse. And then I'm going to do another combo. Oh! Yeah, so I got cheeky. So there's two ways to do Dome Skip. If you can do the damage output and he doesn't get outside of the arena, you can totally use Limit Form as a means to Dome Skip by doing an Ars Arcanum combo out of the Reflect into the standard Limit Form combo, another Ars combo, and then another Limit Form combo without the finisher from Ars. If he lands outside of the arena, it wasn't meant to be. Or I'll go over the other method. So I'll purposefully not get him to Dome. I'll go ahead and take this death. Riku should die here pretty quickly. So I'll go into Limit Form, but I'll leave him at his last HP bar to go over the standard one. I honestly should have gotten Dome Skip there. I just got unlucky that he went out of the arena. So opening up this fight again, Reflect, Reversal, Reversal, Reflect, Reversal, Reversal, Reflect, Reversal, Reflect, Reversal, Reversal, Reflect, Reversal. Oops. Okay. I didn't want to have him take as much damage. Alright, that's fine. So if you do reflects on his lasers as he's coming across, it's a little bit harder with Baby Reflect, just because not all of the projectiles from Reflect will hit him. Reflera and Reflega are really good for this, but it still can be done plenty fine with Baby Reflect. But pay attention to his HP after every Reflect. You want to get him, the sweet spot is somewhere between 1 HP bar and maybe like 20% of his second to last HP bar, and maybe like, I think it's like 90% of his last HP bar. If he goes below that, he will dome. And the dome takes longer than to just redo the fight and get dome skipped successfully. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen races, Roman can attest to this too, where races have come down to one player taking a dome and another player taking the death and redoing the fight to get a successful dome skip. Overall, the dome is like, I think it's like 1 minute and 45 seconds for the whole cutscene to play, maybe like 1.5 minutes. Whereas a successful fight with dome skip can take 45 seconds. You can do it very, very quickly, especially a beginner. So just pay attention to his HP, and I'll keep pausing after every one. Don't be afraid to pause after each one.
Why don't you vanish? Why don't you vanish?
This is that little phase I was talking about where he can be a little bit of a nuisance to try and get some damage on.
Why don't you vanish?
Man.
Can you slay a heartless?
Okay, he's at the perfect HP gate. So now now that I know he's at the HP gate, what you want to do is when he does another lasers, you want to reflect and you want to go into a session, Riku's limit. Um, and if it doesn't look like this, the session limit is going to kill, you want to while you're under the limit, you want to restore your MP to full, and either try to still get extra damage under the limit, or after the limit is done, reflect twice, and then use session again. If you've done enough damage, it will insta kill as soon as you go into the limit.
Why don't you finish?
So this should finish him off.
Is that all you got? I'll take him.
Yeah, this will get him. Okay, so and that's how you dome skip. Depending on your damage and what you're more comfortable with, you can use the limit form method. You can use the reflect / session method. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I would say practice both. Get used to both because sometimes you may not have a reflect going into final fights. Sometimes you may only have a limit form going into final fights.
I wouldn't be too sure of that.
God forbid if you ever get into a situation where you only have like a fire and a or not a fire, but fuck, what's the other one that affects Xemnas? Because I don't think fire affects Xemnas. Damn it, it's not Blizzard. It might be Thunder.
Sora,
I can't remember.
I can't. Don't say another word.
But really, you're just relying on Session and
It's just
Sora's
not.
attacks. Sometimes you go in there with low tools, you kind of just have to take the dome. It just happens. You can kill him with Thunder. Oh, that's right,
How
yeah,
can you
because a
say
lot of
that?
people finish him with Thunder in the
Even if we could go
speed
on.
run. Yeah, so you can do a
Look where we
dome
are.
skip with Thunder Session.
Oh, come
Um,
on, Riku. You've been hanging out in darkness too long.
That'll work plenty of
You
times
gotta
as
try
well.
and think positive. Sora,
But time, once you have the load list set up,
you lead.
time will automatically end for you, loadless and RTA, as soon as Xemnas is dead. There's a script written that it just automatically
You know,
happens, like with many
I
other
always
games.
figured I was better at
Um,
stuff than you.
But then at that point, we compare loadlesses. Just because you finish first doesn't mean you'll always come in first. Sometimes we always have a difference in loadlesses because of RTAs. Some people play on emulators, and their RTA might be 30 minutes extra, but their loadless might be 20 minutes less. It comes down to a lot of different variables. But um, I don't think I have much else. Again, we are looking at April 1st for the qualifier at 7 p.m. Asyncs are allowed. Please reach out to RoRoManiac8 on Discord or myself. Both our Discord handles will be in the description. There will be plenty of resources in the description. There will be a website that will have various different guides. The Rando guide on how to install and get started with Rando will also be in the description. There will be a lot of really good resources. And again, the Rando Discord is a great place to meet people. There's always people looking to race, get better, and I can promise you there are going to be plenty of other people in a very beginner fashion who are going to be looking to try to get into the game, learn a little bit more, and I'm sure want to practice with other people who are in the same boat as them. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Everyone in the community is very welcoming, very open arms, really amazing people throughout the community. Um, we really want to try to capture as many people within this tournament as possible. Again, it's for a great cause. Um, for every person that qualifies again, there's money going to be donated. You do not have to donate a dime if you cannot. Obviously, we'd appreciate it, but Rower Maniac is donating $10 up to 40 people if they participate in the qualifier. I'm donating $2.50 per. And like I said, I think there is a handful of others that are doing the same pledges as well. Um, and I'm sure we'll also do some other kind of stuff, like probably $1 per death in the qualifier, or something like that. So coming out the gates, we're already raising some really good money for a really good cause. Rando for Ukraine. Um, if you'd like to help in any way, whether it's commentate, um, helping organize for the tournament, um, or anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. Did the Venmo go through? Jesus Christ. We'll figure out the Venmo later. Um, Broro, I don't know if I have anything else to add yes, it should be a really fun time. I know he and I are really excited to watch hopefully a really big surplus um, of beginners into this community, and hopefully, decide to stick around for longer than this beginner tourney. Um, I think I'm good. I think that was it. Um, I was surprised this didn't take longer than it did. Um, Overall, that was a fun seed. That was a good amount of content. Um, I just suck at W. Absolutely. I'm the absolute worst. Man, I miss some baby beginner seeds sometimes. But this is where the YouTube video will cut. Thank you for watching. We really hope to see a really good turnout for this tourney. Um, there's going to be some amazing people working behind the scenes to put this all together. So, again, bunch of resources in the description. Don't hesitate to reach out. And we hope to see you on April 1st or an async beforehand. So, peace.